You're watching a specially extended edition of Channel 4 News. I'm here in northern Japan, where vast areas of the coastline around me have been totally obliterated. New footage shows the moment the tsunami hit Miyako. Watch the water surging over the embankment wall with huge power, carrying boats, cars with it as it flows through the town. It's thought at least 10,000 people are dead. Some towns have simply been wiped off the map. Japan's Prime Minister has called it today the biggest crisis the nation faces since the Second World War. These satellite images show some of the worst hit areas before and after Friday's tsunami. Millions of people left without power or water. Many still cannot be reached. Now, here in Sendai, rescue workers are hunting for survivors beneath the wreckage of this devastated city. There's an acute shortage of drinking water, as I've said, and thousands are waiting to hear any news of their loved ones.
2 days in, and the firemen are out with rods in the smashed paddy fields, checking for bodies. That's the priority. Finding the dead. Little or no hope of the living. 2 days in, Japan's desperate yet ordered determination to restore normality. They want the motorways open. The tsunami was halted in its tracks by Sendai's ring road, but the detritus came to rest under her bridges, against her central reservations. Great piles of what once were homes, cars, fridges, washing up basins, cupboards. The sheer impact of this, driving this car nose first into the motorway embankment. Each car a memorial to its dead driver. The airbag had inflated here, but for the family inside, it merely sealed their fatal confinement. This water, these great lumps of torn forest, came here on the tsunami. This is verdant farmland, small farming villages, 8 long miles from the sea. 8 miles across which the tsunami gathered her fatal wave force. And when they find a body, amid the stilled sludge and waste, the struggle for the dead is as if for life. Feverish activity, a dozen firemen, a blue screen to preserve the dignity of nature's casualty. But the helicopters bustle too for the living. A doctor lowered to help an elderly inmate of an old people's home now surrounded by water. The only signal of environmental threat, not the terrifying unseen enemy in radiation, but the effluent from one of so many oil and chemical fires. The order in Japan's great rescue and recovery is awesome. Fire crews from across Japan acting as if part of a long-written and oft-performed symphony, as if this is all they ever do. An elderly woman begs for her lost husband. He'd been tending his paddy field, as he always did. Had we seen him? Had the firemen seen him? Had we seen a silver pickup truck? Was he the man plucked with such care from the wreckage, now borne in a cortege back toward the roadside? In town, the wind and water had piled cars against each other, wound them around lampposts, tipped them, thrown them, left them on street corners at crazy angles, cast like toys to join Thomas the Tank Engine, ripped from a children's playground. On higher, undamaged ground, people queue for food and liquid, quiet, uncomplaining. There's very little food and water, he says. Just this shop is all I know that's open. Downtown, endless queues for petrol, against the moment that further evacuation may be called. And burning inexhaustibly the oil and chemicals stored at this significant Japanese port. That other tanks may catch is as nothing compared with the greatest fear of all, nuclear meltdown, just 40 miles away.
John, I keep wondering, is it different seeing a disaster like this in an advanced technological country like Japan, or does nature just disregard these things?
Well, nature is a great leveller, Christian, there's no question. And yet at the same time, what you didn't have in Haiti, which I suppose is the most recent comparison, was this unseen threat, the unknown, this awful fear of nuclear fallout. That's something completely absent. But what you do have is a very sophisticated infrastructure here. To watch it roll out has been deeply impressive. The Japanese spring into action. In Haiti, there was no infrastructure. There was terribly little initial response.
And those calm, quiet cues of people tell you something about the Japanese approach or the character.
I think the character must be centred in discipline, in obedience, in a sense. And people are very, very stoical, very reserved. They don't cry out to you. They're right there and they're just dealing with it. But that brings us now very much to the end of our programme. Don't forget, you can get all the latest from Japan on our website, and you can contact me direct on Twitter at John Snow C4. We're back again tomorrow night at 7. Until then, from Christian in London, from the team here in northern Japan, that is Channel 4 News, good evening.